Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Hill. With me, as always, is Austin Wader. And we're back and we're talking the big game, the biggest game of the year, the national championship. It's all come down to this. We've seen the new 12 team format. We had a bunch of faces in this one. And now we've got a couple blue bloods facing off for a national championship. Um, Honestly, I've loved the way the 12 team playoff has gone so far. Again, it's been exciting to see teams that last year would not have had an opportunity to be playing for a national championship are both now sitting in the national championship. You talk about Notre Dame, an independent with an early loss to Northern Illinois in the season. Last year, that's the end of it. Uh, so huge for them to be able to come back into this and now play for a national championship. And with Ohio State, you have the loss to Oregon. Um, and maybe you could have made the Big Ten championship. But then you have the loss to Michigan to close out the regular season. And not only did that knock them out of the Big Ten championship, but with two losses, that certainly would have knocked them out of the 14 playoff as well. So just a huge situation for these teams to be able to take advantage of the situation they were put in and make it to the national championship. It's created a lot of opportunity. And for some people, maybe they don't love that so much. But for me, I think it's fun to see the best teams in the country compete against each other. And let's get to these quarterfinal games, which were easily the best games we've seen in the college football playoff. And reiterate this one time, was played between four teams that probably would not have played in the college football playoff last year. With the way that structure was, it would not have been maybe Penn State would have gotten that last spot, but probably not. Um, Maybe Texas could have gotten the last spot, maybe. But like I said, Notre Dame, Ohio State definitely would have been out of this. This was these were some good games, and so let's start with Notre Dame and Penn State, which is our first game played in the Capital One Orange Bowl. And this game started how we expected it to start. Slow, grind it out, feel each other out kind of play. A lot of running, a lot of physicality. Both teams were trying to set the tempo. Um, but once we got in the second quarter, you could see that Abdul Carter and the rest of this Penn State defensive line were starting to set the tone against the Notre Dame rush, giving them no chances. And then they were giving Riley Leonard truly no time. Um, and it created a tough situation for Notre Dame where they just could not score. And Penn State went out and got 10 points in the second quarter. A fictitious concussion protocol rule pulls Riley Leonard out of the game. Look, I know that officials can take a quarterback or a player out of a game if they think they're hurt for a concussion to have them evaluated. But I didn't know you could do that when a player gets up and walks to the huddle and starts calling a play. Um, to me, that doesn't show any signs of a concussion. Clearly, he didn't because he came back into the game. I know he took a big hit, but he came right back up, went into the huddle, made a play call. At this point, I thought the fix was in. I can't even lie. I was like, we're down 10-0, and now they're pulling Riley Leonard out of the game. I was like, what are we going to do? It's a 2-minute drill, and our quarterback's out of the game. Steve Angeli came in and did what Steve Angeli does, though. Look, he's not as mobile as Riley Leonard. He's definitely a pocket passer. He's more along the lines of the Ian Books and the Sam Hartmans that we brought in, and Jack Cohn even. He comes in though, goes 6 for 7 for 44 yards, and leads us down the field for a huge field goal to cut it to 7 when we come back into this game. Then we go out and get a huge 7 on our first drive, a big physical drive, and hold Penn State to nothing. Oh, and then the fourth quarter. Back to back to back to back body blows, just nonstop going at each other. Penn State gets in the end zone, and I think the game's over. And then one of the best plays I've ever seen, or I've seen from Jaden Greathouse this season, beats the corner off the line, corner slips and falls. makes a catch, makes the safety slip and fall, and it's a walk-in touchdown. Um, the end of this game, Notre Dame has a chance. They can't quite get in to field goal range. They tried to set it up and run those 2 minutes down. They couldn't do it. They punt the football away. Hope the defense can make one last stop. And finally, the defense that has led the nation in turnovers and leads the nation in points off of turnovers makes a play. They had a Christian Gray interception pulled off for a pass interference. And then they had a Jack Kaiser interception pulled off for pass interference. Both of those drives led to touchdowns for Penn State. Look, in the Christian Gray one in the second quarter, I'm not going to argue there. Christian Gray gets a handful of jersey. The Jack Kaiser one, Kaiser is catching the football as the other guy's getting hit. If I remember correctly, pass interference rules, once the ball is touched, receiver's free game. So I was a little bit flustered with that one, but it doesn't matter. Christian Gray comes through with the diving interception on Drew Allar, the mistake that we see Penn State make time and time again. They're too passive with their passing offense, and then when it comes down to needing to make a big throw, they miscommunicate, they make a tough throw, it gets picked off, and it sets Notre Dame up for the game-winning field goal. Um, of course, there's a little pitchy woo woo at the end of the game. A bunch of laterals going backwards, but laterals go out of bounds. Notre Dame comes away Orange Bowl champions, going to the national championship. I've never been more nervous than I was watching Notre Dame football in this game. Um, I was physically shaking for like the last 5 minutes of this game. And Notre Dame comes out with the win. It was huge, impressive. This is exactly what this team has done all year. They've been doubted, and they've come out and executed. We lost the turnover margin in this game for the first time in a long time. But they still came out and played hard. It's just been what we've seen all season with Angeli coming in and kind of sparking this team with that field goal drive. But it's been that way all year. When the offensive line pieces have gone down, new guys have come in to fill. When Riley Mills went down, new guys have come in to fill. When Benjamin Morrison went down, Christian Gray has come in to fill. Um, this team has played just unbelievable football to set themselves up. But what are your thoughts on this game as an outsider of either fan base, just watching the game to watch the game?
Well, I enjoyed it again. I'm excited the national championships here. Uh, Obviously, like we said, the 12 team playoff gave us a semifinal of teams who most likely would have been left out. So all these people complaining they got two great games. These matchups wouldn't have happened last year. As far as the game is concerned, Penn State dominated the first half. Their defense was better. They were better on the line of scrimmage. They ran the football better. They were just better. And I get your point about Riley Leonard, but at the same time, people talk still about what happened with two and everything about protecting the player from themselves. I think even you've said that several times. So, I get why they wanted to check him out and make sure he was okay before officially letting him go back out on the field. But the backup came in, did a great job, got a field goal, and kept the game really alive for Notre Dame. This was 10-0 going into halftime. I don't think Notre Dame wins this game. Let a
I mean,
drive,
yeah,
got a
we
field goal. Yeah, let a drive, got a field goal to make it 10-3. Um, Scored a touchdown, made it a ball game. And then the fourth quarter happened, which was just pure chaos. Fourth quarter was just pure chaos. It was, like you said, big play after big play. When Notre Dame threw the interception and Penn State scored to take the lead 24-17, I thought Penn State was going to take control of the game. I was waiting for a moment to see who would take control, and this was that moment. And then, literally, like you said, the great drive and the great juke, not just once, but twice by the wide receiver Grayhouse to take it to the house. And then they're just kind of going back and forth to end the game. So I'm like, oh, we're going to overtime. We're due for some overtime. As if people weren't sweating it out enough. I was sweating it out, and didn't even have a dog in the fight, and I was
yeah.
sweating it out. But then, listen, the Penn State passing game that had nothing to do with it. Drew Aller, I'll say it like this: he made a terrible decision. You know, it's late in the game. This is different if you're down by 3 points. You're down by a touchdown with 40 seconds left. This is different. This is a tie game with a trip to the national championship on the line. And he did the cardinal sin of any quarterback at any level, throwing late over the middle. Nothing good happens when you throw late over the middle. Nothing good will ever happen from that. Whether it's incomplete or not, you're basically lucky it's an incompletion if you're a quarterback where you've gotten lucky with that. But Howard didn't. He made a bad throw, and look, it cost Penn State there, which is unfortunate because they played a good game against Notre Dame. I thought Notre Dame was going to come out and take control in that second half, and I thought they did. Penn State responded, but it was just a bad throw by Drew Aller, and yeah, I feel bad for him. Again, the good news most likely he's coming back next year. A lot of Penn State's talent's coming back next year, so they'll have a lot to build on. But Notre Dame found a way. They found a way. So it was a great game. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, and the conversation to have now, obviously, we'll talk about Notre Dame and what tomorrow holds for them later. But Penn State, this is the end of the line for James Franklin. I would argue his best season at Penn State. Gets to the Big Ten championship, gets to the college football playoff, and makes it all the way to the semifinal. Those are big wins that are certainly going to help him down the line. Um, but still, we see the thing we've seen out of Penn State so often. It's a loss to Ohio State, a loss to Oregon, and a loss to Notre Dame. Um, Still not quite there to compete with the biggest dogs in college football right now. But like you said, returning a ton of talent. Drew Lohr should be coming back. He's already said that he was coming back. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are coming back. Um, how you can return both of those guys in this backfield just shows how unselfish and kind of the brotherhood that those two have, that they're willing to come back and split some more time. But I think it's the right move if you're these guys. Um, this is a pretty good running back class. And not that these guys are any worse than some of these guys in the class, but to be able to come back and compete for a national championship while maybe helping yourselves in next year's draft, and maybe put you guys as the number one and number two backs instead of maybe four and five, in this class, I think it's pretty big for them. So a lot of guys returning for Penn State. Um, do you think we can see a Penn State team next year that takes the Big Ten, and finally gets over that hump and wins in the biggest games?
It's a great question. A question that I think I've lost track of how many times we've asked that on this
Yeah.
show. And the key answer is like this: they have the talent. I just don't know. I don't know. They have the talent on offense. Obviously, they'll have to replace Abdul Carter and some key pieces on defense. We'll see what they do with that during the offseason. Um, but look, with that just that nucleus of those three guys, the quarterback, the two-star running backs coming back, this team, along with their offensive coordinator sticking around and some other defensive players, they should be a top five team in the preseason. That's the key thing. They should be a top five team in the preseason. Um, but look, it just comes down to again winning the big game. That's all I got to say. You know, you had your two wins against SMU and Boise State, who are two incredibly talented teams. But not everyone in the world thinks that those were two incredibly talented teams. And they're like, look, the one time Penn State played a good team, they blew it at the end in the playoffs. So they're going to have to keep on proving people wrong if they want a chance. And I think they have a chance. I think, especially with Drew Aller, if they continue to let him be more aggressive offensively, then I think they have a chance next year while also having a good ground game. But, we'll see. I'm rooting for it. We always root for it here as a Penn State podcast.
Yep.
So we shall see. But look, it comes down to they'll probably have to play Ohio State and Michigan again, or Ohio State and Oregon, or Oregon, Michigan, or some combination of that three, and they're gonna have to beat at least one of them to get in. So we'll see what happens next year. But they have the talent. It's just can they do it?
Yeah, I agree. I think the key next year is look, they've got to go and look, they've had several different offensive coordinators. So I don't know what is causing this, but they all have the same mentality. They're so timid passing the ball And they just trust the run game. And look, they have a great run game. They've built this program on some great running backs. You can't forget that. But you need both phases on offense, running and passing, to be able to get the offense going in big games. You can't be one dimensional, or you can't be too one dimensional to where you only throw the ball in certain situations. They've got, especially with the talent of Drew Lar, a guy who is going to be a first round pick next year's draft. Um, he's got eyes all over him right now. I can't believe they've got him to come back now. But with a guy with that kind of talent coming out of Penn State, you've got to let him let it fly, and take this team to the next level, because he is that capable of it. But when the only chance he gets to let it fly is on those last two drives of the game, yes, he's bound to throw an interception, and cost you the game. So we
Absolutely.
move on to our other semifinal game, Ohio State versus Texas in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Um, and this was another just fantastic game. Um, you had Texas turn the ball over on downs right away, on their first drive, and then Ohio State marched down the field, and Quinshon Judkins put it in the end zone. And I thought to myself, Ohio State, they start off these games so hot. They've started every game in this college football playoff hot. I was like, what is Texas going to do? They've given up. They got turnover on downs and then gave up a touchdown. I was like, this might be the game right here. That's just how good they've played. But then it was back and forth, just trading punts until Texas finally is able to get into the end zone with a little screen pass to Jaden Blue. And Jaden Blue had himself a game. Look, this running back room is incredibly talented. And these guys have had to step up with the injury to CJ Baxter early in the season, but they have done a fantastic job in this season. Running backs in this game in general, this was a great game for running backs. So if you're a fan of the running back, you got to see a little bit of a show. But then right after that, speaking of running backs, another little screen pass, Travion Henderson, first play, gone, 75-yard touchdown. And it was just the perfect, I mean, it's just the perfect call, honestly. Um, then we had the interception thrown by Texas, some more punts, or by Ohio State. Then Texas gets down the field, they score the touchdown, another Jaden Blue receiving touchdown, and this game is good. We've got ourselves a front row seat to some action. Couple more punts go by, and then Winshaw Judkins puts it in 21-14. We got 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Ewers is playing well. What can the Longhorns do here? They've been responding, responding, responding. The defense has kept it close when they needed to, but they keep giving up these big go aheads. What are we going to do? Huge drive into the red zone. Um, and this was just a great drive that gets them all the way there. But fourth and goal, they go for it. Quinn Ewers looking, trying to find a way to force the ball in. And his former roommate at Ohio State strip sack, returns it all the way to the other end for a touchdown to put this game 28-14. And then an interception seals the deal from Ohio State if it wasn't already over. Oh, this was a good game. But look, this came down to Ohio State's defense. Their offense started good, but the defense got the job done at the end of the game. And that's the thing about Ohio State. We talked about it. They're such a complete team, and they're going to be so hard for anybody to beat in this college football playoff. If they could just get their heads together, we talked about it in the regular season. If they could just get their heads together, play as one, play as a team, this team is going to be hard to beat. And we're seeing that now in the college football playoffs. It's gotten them all the way to the national championship.
Yeah,
My,
for me, as far as that game goes, I mean, oh, this had no business being a close game. Ohio State got up 7-0 really quickly. And then Travion Henderson has that stupid, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on that second drive for Ohio State while they're driving down into Texas territory, backs them up to a point where they are unable to get the first down and have to punt. There was just some costly Ohio State penalties that kept Texas in the game. This had no business being a 7-7 game as it was late in the first half. But Texas made it 7-7. You're like, all right, hot dog. We're going to go into half 7-7. Feeling really good. And then, like you said, the screen pass, taking it all the way to the house, that really kind of brought all the Texas fans. They're like, oh, they're like, ugh, are you kidding me? We just did all that. But hey, the Texas defense stepped up a bit, which I'll give credit to Texas for. I've wondered about them the whole year. They haven't really played anyone well, haven't played any great teams. The defense played pretty tough for most of that game. So I want to give them credit there. They tie it up, and then look, Ohio State took the lead. That fourth quarter, by the way, was basically two drives. I want it to be known.
Yeah.
Ohio State had like an 8-minute drive to start that fourth quarter, and then Texas basically had a 5-minute drive to end the game, which pretty much sealed the deal, obviously, with that scoop and score. But the play calling from Texas was just horrendous on the goal line. They had a first and goal at the 1 yard line, didn't get in the first time. Then you're doing a halfback toss 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. As a Steeler fan who hates Arthur Smith, like many Falcons fans do, I'm sure, the halfback toss does not work unless you have the right pieces in the right formation. There's a reason the halfback toss hasn't been successful since it was power run football in the 80s. There's a reason no one runs it anymore because it's easy to stop with the athletes nowadays in football. So now you're backed up to basically the own 10-yard line, which is just terrible. Incompletion, then I talked about the scoop and score to end it. Just some terrible play calling by Sarkisian there on the goal line really cost Texas a good chance at tying this game up. But yeah, the Ohio State defense, again, I've talked about it since that move was made. Jim Knowles coming over from Oklahoma State to Ohio State, probably the biggest hire in the history of Ryan Day's career. Jim Knowles is not there. They don't have a defense. They're not competing for national championship right now. And I'm honestly surprised Jim Knowles hasn't gotten a lot more looks for a head coaching opportunity. I'm hoping he gets a chance next year because the defense he has is just incredible that he's able to build. Um, but Ohio State got the job done with their defense. They just had some costly penalties. That's stuff they can't do if they want to win the national championship. And for Texas, look, Quinn Ewers has gone to the NFL draft. A couple of guys are gone. It's the Arch Manning show, which apparently, according to a bunch of annoying Texas fans and all the media, is going to save the University of Texas. I mean, everyone hyped it up whenever he had two good games against group of five teams this year. So we'll see what happens there. Be careful what you wish for is all I'm saying if you're a Texas fan, because don't come crying and complaining next year if Arch Manning has a couple of games where he struggles. That's all I got to say is be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Actually, just to bring up Arch Manning here, I have a point and maybe a thought that I'd like to bounce off you. So in this game, we saw on, I think it was the drive before their fourth quarter fumble drive. I think it was the last touchdown drive they had, where they bring in Arch Manning on fourth down, and he has the huge run that picks up the first down, puts him in really good field position. Um, when they came out on this goal line drive, one, I am just a fan of four halfback dives right up the middle, and if you don't score, they're on the 1 yard line. The other team's on the 1 yard line, and they now have to get 10 yards, or you're going to get the ball back in great field position. Um, so I'm with you. I hated the toss. And then on fourth down, they have Quinn Ewers, and they run this play that has him like bootleg out to the left. Why? Here's my two thoughts. Ewers' mobility in the pocket is just not that great. Teams have taken advantage of it to beat them this year, and it beat them in this game. His mobility is not that great. He's not going to be able to get away from somebody on the bootleg if they beat him off the line, especially not Jack Sawyer. If you're going to have a bootleg out there, why did you not bring Arch Manning back out? It's basically a 2-point conversion play. It's like a long 2-point conversion. bring Arch Manning out if you're going to do some kind of play where you want to get the quarterback on the move, because then it also poses the threat of what if he runs and could create some kind of opening. But I just don't like putting Quinn Ewers on the move where he's already not that great, where it's already going to be tougher for him to make a throw. And then on top of that, he's got the best defensive lineman on Ohio State in his face, ripping the ball out of his hands. Um, Otherwise, I think you do just a much more standard pocket passing play. That's just my opinion. I just don't know why you wouldn't bring in the better, more mobile quarterback for another fourth down conversion if you're trying to get the quarterback on the move.
Well, again, like I said on that pat back toss, I look back to where they shouldn't have been in that situation on fourth and goal
Yeah,
from the 7 or 8 yard line, wherever it was from exactly. This should have been, if you really wanted to run power, run Arch Manning in there and have him run it from the 1 yard line, get you in the end zone. If that's been your way of playing Arch Manning, then by all means use him in that way. But the halfback toss, I mean, I will just say like this pure stupidity. Because that as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, Texas just lost this game.
yep.
You know what your chances of scoring are from the 8 yard line compared to the one, they go down drastically. So I mean, that was my whole takeaway there. Texas did all this work to go down and drive. They have a chance to tie it up late, and then one terrible play call by Sarkisian really blew up any chance of Texas having a chance to win this game. As for that fourth down play, I mean, I get maybe the argument for bringing in Arch, but at the same time, from the 8 yard line, I don't think anyone's expecting a quarterback run in that situation. I think everyone's fully expecting Quinn Ewers and Texas to pass the football because, well, they obviously were interested in doing that with backing up from the 7 or 8 yard line. So, yeah, but just some bad play calling from Texas and stupid penalties by Ohio State really kept this game way closer than it should have been and gave Texas a chance before that stupid halfback toss. So if Ohio State wants to win the national championship tomorrow, as we're recording this on Sunday, um, they can't have any stupid penalties. I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. They can't afford to make mistakes like that in a national championship game.
Oh, ugh,
Bless you, sir.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm with you. They made some mistakes that they can't afford. Um, but that's good for me. So let's talk about this Texas future. Look, you heard the talk about Quinn Ewers and being offered the money to stay playing college football, to transfer somewhere else, $8 million. And look, right now that's a lot more than he would make on a rookie contract, even if he's the number one overall pick. Um, so people have been talking about should he stay, should he go? I think there are two ways to look at it. Look, if you're purely interested in the money and you have no loyalty to what you've done in college, you don't really care about what your legacy looks like, and you're maybe not so worried about where you get drafted in the NFL if you get drafted at all for coming back another year. Um, by all means, go back, get your $8 million. It's more than you're going to make in your first year in the NFL. Do what you got to do. But I think as far as wanting to be an NFL player, wanting to be an NFL quarterback, especially a starting quarterback, Ewers is a great talent. But this is a much weaker quarterback draft class. His name is much more among the top than it might be next year. I just think he stands a better chance to get drafted in this one. It stands a better chance for somebody to commit to trying to build around him. Um, so I think that that would be the smart play there. Of course, well, he's committed to the NFL draft, but some people wanted him to come back out. Obviously, they tried to do everything they could to get him to come back out and transfer. Your thoughts on Quinn Ewers or really any of these big names going or staying in the draft? Drew Allar is another guy that would fit in this. He's obviously staying at Penn State, but he's a guy that could stand a good bit to gain by going in this class.
Yeah, he really could have. I have no problem with Quinn going because like you said, the quarterback class this year, literally first round QBs are Shador Sanders and Cam Ward. That's it. Maybe Jalen Milrow goes at the end of the first round.
I was gonna say you forgot about the
Maybe.
best quarterback, Jalen Milroe. He's the best quarterback in this class.
Yeah.
Mark it down.
Speaking of that, Jalen Milroe should have stayed another year in college. I don't care what anyone says. At
He
the
could have
same
used it.
time, though, he could be going the Anthony Richardson route, which is going to the combine, showing his athleticism, and someone buying in on his athleticism and talent. I think he personally need another year of college. That's just my opinion on it. But as far as it goes for Ewers, I think it's the right deal. I think it's the right time to go because if you have a good enough workout, someone will most likely trade up into the late first round to come up and get you, or get you right start of the second round to be a quarterback of the future. If you go in next year with some of the guys that are expected to go in, like the one everyone keeps on hyping up from Tennessee, Nico Amaliava, that's the one everyone thinks is going to be the future star. And now you got Drew Aller being the one that could be right behind him next year. You're going to be guaranteed to be third quarterback next year. So what do you gain from coming back for another year of college football when you're going to most likely be QB 3 or 4 no matter what happens next year? So I have no issue with it. Drew Aller, there was a lot of rumor going around that had Penn State, won this game, made the national championship or won it, he would have gone to the NFL draft and people would have argued about it. But similar to that, I think he needs another year. I think he needs another year of development and building in the offense to kind of show his ability. And so yeah, so that's my takeaway on those. Quinn Ewers, I think, is the right time for him to go because, like I said, I think someone will take a chance on him. It's just a matter of who and when. And obviously, it comes down to combine workouts. It comes down to what teams do this offseason. I mean, the Raiders could be picking down too far to go get one of the top two quarterbacks. They could be looking to go in the second round and get Quinn Ewers or go get Jalen Milroe. So we'll see what happens there. I have no problem with Quinn going to the NFL draft. I think it's the right move for him. I think he stayed loyal to Texas. Even though, like I said, the fans the entire year wanted to bench his butt. So I really don't blame him for leaving because, I would have probably left too because I think that's kind of disloyal to some Texas fans wanting to bench him the whole year for Arch Manning. So that's why I'm saying about Arch Manning. I think he could be good. We're going to find out next year for sure as long as he's a starter in Texas. Just saying, if he struggles, I'm gonna be like, well, you guys were asking for him all last year, and now you could have Quinn Ewers back, but he's gone to the NFL draft. So
Yep. Well, let's talk about it. We've got our national championship set. It's Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the number 7 seed, the number 3 overall team, facing off against Ohio State, the number 8 seed and the number 6 overall team. This is going to be a big one. Big one for me. Let's start with Ohio State. What's the keys to the game for Ohio State to win this game and be crowned the national champions? What do they need to do to win this one?
well, the one thing they've done a great job of this entire playoff run is number one, they've dominated the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line and defensive line have been boosted tremendously in this playoff. If you watch the main game I look back to is the Oregon game as the main example, because Oregon, I mean, they just dominated. Their offensive line got so many open holes, so much time for Will Howard, and their defensive line didn't even allow Oregon to come close to running the football. And so, yeah, I think line of scrimmage is key for Ohio State. At the same time, don't run into the same trap you did against Michigan. It's very simple. Ohio State is an extremely talented team, but they fell into the trap of that Michigan game of playing that hard nosed, grinded out football, running the football, not a lot of passing, and playing that kind of brand. That's kind of the brand towards Notre Dame more than being a passing offense like Notre Dame is. So if they play Notre Dame's game, Notre Dame will probably win. They need to stay true to who they are and dominate the line of scrimmage, and they can win this game outright. So, yeah, those are my keys: line of scrimmage and playing true to themselves. That's my two biggest keys.
Yeah, I think those two are important. And one I'd like to throw in there is they need to start hot. The longer look, Notre Dame isn't bad by any means, but the way they have these slow, grinded out drives, they don't start by putting 14, 21 points off, but bam, right at the beginning of the game. They wear you down and they beat you down, and usually they try to let the first points of the game be scored in the second quarter, unless they're the ones scoring it. That's what they did against Penn State. It's what they're going to try and do in this game. The longer they could keep the first points of the game being scored, the better. That's the way this team likes it. Low scoring, physical, tough. Um, if Ohio State's got to start fast, they've started every game fast this college football playoff. They did not start fast against Michigan, and that was a big tell. The only other game they lost this year where they did start fast was against Oregon, and that's because of the type of offense that Oregon plays. That was just a back and forth, nonstop game. But when they played Michigan, like you said, they played Michigan's game and they did not get off to a hot start. They need to come out, and those first two drives have to be touchdowns. They've got to be. That puts Notre Dame behind the eight ball. Notre Dame starts thinking, hey, we got to pick it up. And that's how you're going to get Notre Dame out of their game plan. Now, is that going to be perfect? Who knows? Leonard's made some great throws this year. And Jelly, if he maybe has to come in to make some throws, I doubt it, could come in and make some throws. Not the end of the world, but absolutely starting fast, like you said, playing their own brand of football. Marcus Freeman's already said Notre Dame's watched a lot of film from that Michigan game because they play the game very similar to the way Michigan plays. I'd say they run Michigan's offense, but better. They have better pieces for it.
Mobile quarterback too, I'd say.
Yeah. So they can really hurt Ohio State with the run game. And that's what they plan to do. They plan to find a way to make Ohio State play that football game again. So
I
you have got to come
absolutely,
out and be
yeah,
better.
I absolutely love that for him. I think it makes sense. And you talk about hot starts for Ohio State. They got off to a hot start against Tennessee. They got off to a hot start against Oregon, and really didn't let those become ball games. They got 21-0 before those teams could even blink. But because of the costly penalty by Travion Henderson early in that game against Texas, it allowed Texas to hang around in that ball game. So otherwise, if he doesn't have that penalty, Ohio State probably scores and they're up 14-0 on Texas before they can even blink. So yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there on a hot start for them. If you get up 14-0 on Notre Dame like that, you're absolutely right. You take them out of their game plan. You make them have to readjust on the fly, which is tough for any team to do.
Absolutely. Now, keys to the game for the Irish. What do they need to do to get this game won?
Well, obviously, it's run the football. Run the football, and you'll be good there. It'll give you a chance. Your defense is going to give you a chance no matter what. But honestly, the big key comes down to the passing game. Riley Leonard at quarterback made some big throws when needed. My question is, can he make those throws in this big national spotlight? It's not that I don't think he can. It's just can he? Because like you said, this is going to be similar to a Michigan style offense where they'll look to run first, run second, and then look to pass third, most likely. So if he can have success passing the football, I think they have a great chance for it. And just looking at Austin, I was doing some research on stats for Notre Dame. I mean, it feels like a year of destiny for him. I'm not trying to hype it up for you any more than I already would be, but I'll do some stats. Frank Lee, the coach from 1940s, won a national championship his third year. You had Parsegian, who won a national championship his third year. Devine won a national championship his third year at Notre Dame. Lou Holtz won a national championship his third year at Notre Dame. This is Marcus Freeman's third year at Notre Dame. If he's going to do it, this feels like it would be the year to do it.
Well, it sounds like it. I certainly hope so. My big key to the game for Notre Dame, like you said, running the ball is super important. Um, my biggest key for Notre Dame in this game is to trust Riley Leonard. At the beginning of the season, this team had not figured out its starting quarterback. They brought Riley Leonard in because of how great of a talent he was. And he wanted to be at Notre Dame. He has family history at Notre Dame. This is where he wanted to be. He's a no contact in the transfer portal. He knew where he was going. He had his mind made up. It was just a matter of if they were taking him, and they were more than happy to. Mike Denbrock ran a great offense for Jade Daniels at LSU. Um, but when he brought Riley Leonard in, we were too worried about the pocket passing of Riley Leonard. After that Northern Illinois loss, they realized what makes Riley Leonard so great is his ability to run the ball and put defenses in a blender. He is he's deceptively fast. He doesn't look fast, he doesn't look mobile, but when he starts running, he's smart and he's quick. It's hard to explain unless you watch Riley Leonard play football the way he runs, because he runs with the best of them, but he just doesn't look like the kind of guy that would be able to do that. Just catches defenses napping. And now that they've got Riley Leonard figured out with the way he can throw the ball, the way he can run the ball, I think at the end of the day, you want to run the ball and put this defense in trouble, but you've got to trust Riley Leonard. He stepped up and made some big throws in this college football playoff when they've absolutely needed him to. The throw to Jaden Greathouse. He's made some great throws to Mitchell Evans to start that Penn State game. He had a couple big throws to Mitchell Evans. We've got to trust this receiving core. It's built to win. We brought in Bo Collins from LSU, or not LSU, from Clemson. Um, Jordan Faison, Jaden Thomas, and Jaden Greathouse. Four great wide receivers to go along with Mitchell Evans. You've got two great running backs in the backfield. He's got all the pieces around him to win this game. You've got to trust Riley Leonard. He's the senior leader, the heart and soul of this offense. Even though it doesn't feel like he's the best passer in the world, he does so much more than that. But I think this game has to go through Riley Leonard. I think the offense has to go through Riley Leonard. That's where we're the best, and that's where we beat defenses, is when you have to think about all the things that Riley Leonard can do.
I think so
Um,
too. And Mike Denbrock, you brought him up. I mean, that's really the coordinator matchup. Him versus Jim Knowles head to head there. Like you said, he did a phenomenal job as the OC at LSU. What he did there was extraordinary for Jaden Daniels. And the thing I love about him is he will change his adjustment to match the strength of a team. That's the one thing I love. He knew LSU was an explosive offense. So they would throw the ball down the field, a lot of success there, and just do it all different ways. Notre Dame, I think they maybe tried that start of the year, and that cost them against Northern Illinois. And they're like, we're not going to win with that style. We're going to win with running the football first and looking to attack out of play action and taking a deep shot every now and then. So that's the one thing I love about him. I think that's the kind of thing that can make him a good head coach one day. Um, is his ability to adjust on the fly to the team. But him versus Jim Knowles is a phenomenal coordinator matchup that I can't wait to see.
yeah, it's going to be fun. And hey, no less fun than Al Golden versus Chip Kelly on the other side of the field. Um,
Fair point.
Notre Dame's defense, look, like I talked about earlier, the number one turnover forcing defense, and Notre Dame's the number one team with points off of turnovers this season. That's clearly the message. I think you've got to get on Will Howard. He's shown under pressure, he's bound to make mistakes. The thing about Will Howard to me is it's not if Will Howard is going to throw an interception, it's how many. He's thrown an interception almost every game this season, but it hasn't always cost Ohio State. And that's the way this team's built. Their defense is built, but he's going to have to limit those mistakes as much as possible. You talk about the interception he threw back against the wall against Michigan that was nearly a pick six. Against this Notre Dame team and those Notre Dame DBs, that is going to be 6 points every time. Xavier Watts, Christian Gray, um, Jordan Clark. I think that's Ryan Clark's son's name. Those guys are too quick, too fast, and they've been in those breakaway interception scenarios all season. You talk about the Christian Gray, like a 90-something yard interception against USC, followed by the Xavier Watts 100-yard interception return. These guys know how to run the field. They basically turn into running backs after they catch the interception. So it's going to be about limiting mistakes. Look, um, this defense is going to find a way to get an interception. They're going to find a way to force a turnover. The best thing Ohio State can do is keep them low, and keep them kind of measured. Don't throw an interception with a guy with a running start. Don't force it into these tight holes. These guys are going to make the play. But I think that's what Notre Dame's got to do. You got to get pressure on Will Howard, and you've got to force him to make some tough throws. He had a big run in this game against Texas, but he's not exactly known for his mobility. He can go when he needs to go. But if we can keep getting this defensive line and these linebackers in his face, the corners and the safeties are going to make their plays.
So, and another thing that I think I just love about this game is again the running back matchup. Quinshon Judkins, Travion Harrison versus Jeremiah Love, who might I just say is one of the biggest athletic freaks I've ever seen in my entire life. basically on one knee, hurdling a man. Um, I'll just be down honest with you. I don't know what his plans are if he plans to come out this year for the NFL draft or not. If he stays in Notre Dame next year, he will probably be running back one in the NFL draft next year if he does stay for another year. I think he is so gifted and athletic. It's tough to stop him. And then obviously the dynamic backfield for Ohio State with Judkins and Henderson, who can run and catch. Just a great running back matchup.
Yeah, you want to know my favorite thing about Jeremiah Love? The thing I've been so giddy about all year? He's a true sophomore. He can't leave. He has to come back next year. So as much as I want him to be able to cash in on how great he is, we get to have him for at least one more year. That's the thing I've been so excited about watching him this year is that there's another year of Jeremiah Love.
He will be running back one next year. I will go ahead and say that with the quiet confidence. Seeing him at, I would say maybe 75, 80% against Penn State. Him at 100%, yeah. He'll be running back one next year. I feel very confident in that.
Yeah, he's a treat. But we've got one last thing to do. We've got to pick our national champs. Look,
Get yours out of the
next
way,
week,
sir. Get yours out of the way. I want to
yeah.
hear the full Notre Dame speech. Win one for the Gipper. Go out there and give me the speech. Come on.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge game for Notre Dame. This is the biggest Notre Dame game in the last 12 years of my life. I do not want to be like I was when I was 12 years old, crying all night because Nick Saban gave me the butt whooping of a lifetime. I've been waiting 12 long years for Notre Dame to make it back. We've done it. I think the thing that's so impressive about this team that I just feel like it's not talked about enough is the way they've done it. They've done it as a team. They've played together all year, and it doesn't matter who's out on the field. There have been true freshmen playing corner this season who have made huge interceptions. There have been true freshmen playing on the offensive line who have held up all year. Um, this is a team that has no business being this far. Tons of teams and tons of players would have given up when their number one corner went out for the season. The number one corner on most people's boards in the NFL draft goes out in the first game of the season. Teams give up, defenses give up there. Notre Dame didn't. Notre Dame teams give up when one of the top 10 tackles in the entire country coming back for his senior year goes down with an ACL injury in the preseason and is not going to be able to play. Most offensive lines fold when they have to put a freshman in at left tackle. Not Notre Dame. Most teams fold in the semifinal when their quarterback has to come out of the game down 10-0 and their backup has to come in and lead a drive. Not Notre Dame. Uh, Jeremiah Love sustained a knee injury. Jadarian Price came right in and ran for 100 yards down USC's throat and 2 touchdowns. This is a team that will not be told no, no matter who's out there. They forget they have a top 5 recruiting class every year. They forget we have a top 5 transfer portal class every year. This team isn't just the 22 guys that start. It's everybody on the roster is a freak and is going to go out there and give us their best. That gets so downplayed for Notre Dame, how talented we are, top to bottom of the roster. You can't keep this team down. They're going to get after Will Howard. They're going to put him in some uncomfortable situations. They're going to control the clock, and they're going to win this game. Notre Dame, national champs. Oh, just one. I just need one, and I can die happy.
I'm ready to run through a brick wall. Let's go. Let's go right now. Let's go. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
From a non Notre Dame fan perspective, I'll go ahead and give my take on it. I just love that it's kind of team of destiny for both sides. Two totally different reasons for it, I think. Number one, with Ohio State, they were the team the whole year everyone's talking about. It's like they spent $20 million on this roster. They're going to be the number one team. They're going to win it all. And then they lose the 2 games. And everyone, I think, I'll raise my hand up, including myself, doubted after it. So, and they've come out and flat out beat everyone's butt on their path to this. So, process. And then Notre Dame had the big win against A&M, a time where I doubted them as well. I'll put my hand up and doubt. I doubted Notre Dame going to A&M in week one. Then they lose to Northern Illinois, and everyone wonders what happens. Not only have they won since that game, they've kicked people's butts all the way to that game. And man, I tell you what, this is two great sides. Let me just flat out say it. Obviously, I think we know what your bet of the week would be Notre Dame money line, obviously. Um, 8.5 points is the most egregious thing I've ever seen for this national championship. So I'm not confident as this man to go ahead and put the money line on Notre Dame, but take 8.5. This is going to be a one-score game. It will be a physical, grinded out game, and it's so tough for me to pick. Oh my gosh, I hate I have to pick it. And I look at it from multiple perspectives. If there's a team that I've doubted most this entire year between the two, it was the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, which is why I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win this game. Listen, I fully believe that that Michigan game, like you said, if they study the tape and play it the way I think they will, then I think that this very much could go in their favor. But if Ohio State jumps out to a 14-0 lead, I'm going to be dead honest with you. I don't see Notre Dame win this game. If the Ohio State gets up 14-0 like that, like they did against Tennessee and Oregon, I don't see them having a chance in this game. Notre Dame has to shut them down and keep this. If it gets to the second quarter and it's 7-0 Ohio State or 7-3 or nothing like I think it could be, I think Notre Dame has a chance. So we will see what happens in that. But I'm going to roll with Notre Dame. To me, this has to be low scoring if Notre Dame wants to win. So I will probably give it I'll go 23-17. I'll give it to Notre Dame to win. I think it has to be a little bit more low scoring for Notre Dame to win the game. Uh, Especially they have to control the line of scrimmage against Ohio State, which no one has been able to do. If they can do that, they can win this game.
I agree with you there. Look, folks, one more game. Tomorrow, as of recording this episode, we close out what's been a phenomenal college football season. I'll either be the most elated man alive or I'll be the most broken man alive. That remains to be seen. But when we come back next week, we're going to be talking the national championship game no matter what happens. We'll have our picks for our top 10 players of bowl season and our top 10 players of the college football playoff. Be ranking those performances to go into our player of the year conversation.
I can't wait. I can't wait for it. And also, we're going to talk NFL divisional round. Recording
Yep.
this on Sunday before the games today. We had quite a stunner last night. I won't talk more
Yeah,
about it if you missed it, but it was a shocking final there. And plus, I'm more excited than anything. Austin, next Sunday night, your boy will be at the AFC Championship in Kansas City.
that's what I like to hear.
So
Live and
I'll
on
just go
scene.
ahead. I'll go ahead and say it. I am rooting for the Bills today. I do not care how biased it sounds. I want to see Chiefs and Bills in person. So Josh Allen, frickin' get it done today. You got me? Get it done today. That's all I asked for. But yeah, we're gonna have that for you and college football next week. I'm exciting it, and then we're getting closer to the college football award show. I can't wait for it, man.
Yes, so be ready, locking in. We'll have you voting on the top five of each of our top tens. And then we'll send out our players of the year nominations and let the fans vote for who they believe should get the fan vote player of the year. And then after that, we wrap it up and name our second annual Michael Penix Jr. Player of the Year.
Wait.
So we've got a big weekend. We've got a big week ahead. That's Austin Waiter. I'm Austin Hill. We want to thank you for listening.